Hello, everybody. I'm going to be going over how to change springs on a garage door. The first step is going to be taking a spring gauge and confirming what size springs are on the existing door. In this case, it was a pair of 218 by 175 by 29s. So in this case, I already knew what the springs were beforehand, but for the sake of this video and just showing you the steps, you always want to confirm. Okay, the next step is going to be to unwind the non-broken spring to release the tension from the system. That way I don't get hurt, or in your case, you don't get hurt. So take some 1/2 inch bars to probably about 14-inch, 1/2 inch bars that I use to backwind the springs so there's no tension on them. All right, now we're going to move on to the drums that you have at the end of your torsion bar, just to loosen those up and make sure they're free spinning. Doesn't give us any resistance, as we're going to slide the torsion tube to one side to get the springs off of the torsion tube. Most drums, you're going to have 2 set screws, and you will need a 12.7/16 for the square bolts that are up there to loosen those. In this instance, there was a pretty large gouge from when the last person had set the drums, so you'll find me filing away to make it a little bit smoother, less of a struggle to get everything off. Now I'm going to take my impact wrench and a 9/16 socket and take out the spring mount bolts from the spring center plate. And of course, you want to take the set screws out from the broken spring so you can move it. So which side you slide them on doesn't matter. I always pick the side with the most amount of room for me to work with. And in this case, it happened to be my left-hand side. So push the torsion tube over. Yep. And from here, you can slide your drum off, set it out of the way, wherever it's convenient and easy to reach. First spring comes off. Be very careful. You don't want to break anything in your garage or somebody else's garage. So take your time. There's no rush. Nothing's going anywhere. Just throw it on the ground. Okay, here you should find yourself a center bearing for the springs. I'm going to keep that for reinstallation. Alright, grab your springs, make sure you have a left wind, a right wind, check your coil, make sure. Alright, since I'm working from the left side of the door, you want to install the right wind spring first. Okay, now we're on to putting our center bearing in. Grab our left wind spring. Slide that on to our torsion tube. And then our drum will go back on as well. Feed it back into the end bearing plate. Make sure it'll stay there so you can work with it. Just checking how much tube I have sticking out on each side. Make sure it's relatively even. Alright, at this point we're going to put our spring plate bolts back into the springs and mount everything back together as it was before. Back with the impact and the 9/16 socket, tighten those up. So now we want to measure from the top of the third wheel to the split between our vertical and horizontal track to make sure that the door is level to our spring system. It's all just to prevent cable slack and keeping the cables in the drum. Without completing this step, you can get lucky and it'll run for a long time, but sometimes it doesn't. In my case, I was about a half an inch difference from one side to the other, so I did have to lift to one side and remeasure both sides. Hold, measure twice, but cut once. This is measure twice, lift once, making sure everything's level before we set the torsion and set the tension on the springs. Now I'm putting the cable and wrapping it around the drum. And then we'll hit the set screws, make sure it's tight on our torsion tube. So with all the set screws, once you feel the screw hit the tube, you only need one full turn. Otherwise, you're over tightening it, you're bending the torsion tube on the inside, just wrecking it. There's no need to do all that. Once you get both your set screws done, you're gonna take a vice grip, set it to size, make sure your cable and drum are tight, and pop. Set that vice grip. Move on to the other side, repeat the same process. Wrap the cable around the drum, hit your set screws, make sure it's tight, tighten them down. All right, so winding the springs, you need one full turn per foot of door. So I'm gonna be putting 7 full turns on each spring because we have a 7-foot high door. All right, springs are tension. We're ready to go. We're gonna lift the door, take our vice grip off. And from here, we're just gonna feel how the door, if it's heavy, if it's hot, do we need to add, do we need to take away tension? And once it's in its most upright position, take a look. You wanna check that there's no cable slack. It's done.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, you got your new springs up there. This thing's pretty noisy.
Yeah.
I can make it quiet again.
Yeah.
It's just $100. All your wheels, you can hear it as it travels.
Yeah.
So we can get rid of the majority of that by just replacing the wheels. It's up to you. You can
Might as well.
okay. Go ahead and grab some wheels.
Is it okay if I write you a check for my home equity, or do you prefer?
Credit or
or-
debit is
Okay.
what I would prefer. That's all
Okay,
right.
I'll just deposit to my account, and then you'll send me an invoice, and I can pay you, or
I
do
can
pay
accept
you now?
payment over the phone. I can do it that way if you'd like. So
Okay.
I can do either or.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right.
So what's it gonna be? Sorry, total
It'll be $449.
$449. Okay.
Yep. So when making recommendations, try and be realistic to the customer. There's lots of companies out there who will go in there and, oh, your motor's messed up. Oh, you need this, you need that. I try and be cost effective, help them out, and make money in return. Give them the knowledge and recommendations based on that. And hopefully they take care of it. So I've seen quite a few methods of changing out the wheels on the garage door. I stick with my favorite. It is the most efficient way. Just above the third wheel, take a pair of vice grips and bend the track out just a little bit, enough to pop the wheel out and remove it. See, four wheels done, nice and efficient. Take the vice grip, bend it back into its original form. Repeat on the other side. As for the top wheels, I do like to take the door and get it about halfway up and then vice grip it in place. I'm going to be balancing top section on my shoulder and my head and fiddling with the track to twist it and pop it out. So keep the door from moving around. Sorry it's off camera, it's just kind of part of it, but twist the track with your hands. One hand, pull out the wheel. The other hand, install is reverse of removal. Do that on one side. Always moving stuff out of the way, and then do it on the other side as well. I always like to take the time anytime I work on a garage door and lube up all the hinges, the springs, the wheels, end bearing plates. You'll see me go through and just spray down everything with lubricant. I do use a 3-in-1 brand garage door lubricant. I like the way it sprays. It's a little bit more on the liquid side, so it kind of creeps into all the little nooks and crannies of the door. But pretty much any garage door lubricant will work just fine. This was a spring change. With any new spring change, I like to reset the motor limits and run the motor a few times to make sure that everything is working properly. Most motors auto set the force, some do not, so it's great to just reset everything, make sure it's opening smoothly, closing smoothly, opening all the way, closing all the way, because you just changed a major component on the door. Gotta make sure. So here is a view of the cable and not having slack. It should not be able to come off of the drum with, messing with it. It should stay Well, thank you for tuning in on the spring change and wheel replacement. Hope the video was informational to you and help you out on your DIY project or just to understand a little bit better. I'm Dustin with Generational Garage Doors. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.